Hi guys, hope all is well. I'm just going to do a video today because I feel like it's going to help a few people. I'm going to go through all these pairs that I've got at the top here, but I'm going to remove all my analysis and then we're going to do analysis like a top-down altogether on each pair, just so you guys can see how I do it and hopefully you can take something from this. So let's get into it. So let's delete everything. So first of all, whoever watches these videos, I know that I usually like to look at the dollar right at the beginning just to kind of see what's happening with that, just to give me some sort of idea of what we could see potentially within the market. So weekly, you can see we are pretty bullish, just following basic market structure. This is our break. Sweet. So this is, oops. This is our high break structure. Now we're just looking for a zone that either caused that break or anywhere kind of within the 50% of the range. So you can see we have came down close to it. Obviously, not every single time we're going to land in around the 50%, and that's fine. But what I can see is we do have a really, really nice supply zone here. What I am going to do is I'm just going to take this zone because I don't like the words of support and resistance, but in some ways it technically is. When you have like supply zones or demand zones, if you actually do drag them across, you can actually see that this is a strong area of supply and demand within a market. So supply and demand is never going to be in just like one random like zone. It's always going to be like at a certain price point for the banks to be trading into. So our psych level that is around here is the 12,500. So anywhere in and around like this pocket zone, you can see that this is a psych level price, and the banks have actually come in and around these zones. So now looking for reactions from anywhere from these zones can be quite a strong idea. You can see we've also got another demand zone here, which didn't get tested, and they got tested again. So that is just a little trick. I don't use it too much, but in the sense of if you're looking for a pullback and you don't see anything clear down here, then just see what is to the left. And more times than not, when you do actually see things like this, I found that they do actually work out quite well. So we have a high time frame on the weekly. We've broken structures. We're looking for a pullback into the 50. Didn't come quite into there. Doesn't mean that we're still not going to come into it, but we have come into a major pocket area of supply and demand in the market where you can see price has reacted from previously. So let's drop it down to 3-day, nothing really too crazy, to be honest with you. So now we come into the daily. We did actually come all the way down into this last selling volume. We had that sell to buy. Why was this an important zone? Because this was the point where we invalidated this supply and we caused our breaker structure. So when you have zones like this, what is even nicer about this zone is we have a run on liquidity sweep. I always like to say we have that consolidation, that manipulation, that BOS. Now we're looking for that test and that continuation, but we didn't get that. We got fooled by it here, and then we actually broke higher. So now we're just looking for the zone that caused that. Now there was a really, really nice accumulation play out in here. Really, really nice tests here. We had that test, and then I was then looking for that continuation to go higher. But bearing in mind, we still had this zone down here. So yes, we did actually shift. We did actually break intermediate structures, but if we actually look at it, for me, technically this is potentially the leg that we're working with, because this is the high and this is our low. Anything broken above or below that is going to be confirmed, because we confirmed that shift when we broke out of here. So if we break above this high, that's going to be our confirmed high low. We pull back and continue higher. Or if we break this low, that's a confirmed lower low, and then we just look for our pullbacks and then shorts. But we've just been trading in and around this low and this high. So I'm still waiting for a breakout of either one. So yes, we could still come all the way up here, and then we could potentially still go down, because if this doesn't break and then we invalidate this low, that's still going to be Still going to be in changing direction. So I'm really waiting to see if how this low is actually going to get broken. For me, this is just on the daily. Where are we? We have some more zones a little bit higher up in here. We actually do have some equal highs in here, which I would want to see get run. So what's really going to be the biggest indicator for me so far now is if we do actually start shifting out of these zones. I do just want to see if we can get this as a target. But for the time being, we could actually just simply react around some of these zones, and we actually just could continue the shorts, and that's completely fine. So I'm not ignoring this breaker structure or that shift. I definitely am going to be looking for zones in and around here, which we will break down to see if we could get some sort of reactions. But I do understand that this was our daily zone, and we did actually have a really, really nice reaction from that so far. So that does not mean that we couldn't potentially just target and run all of these highs. So let's break it down into a 12-hour. 12-hour, what have we got? Okay, so as we can all see, we did have this demand here. We had a test and then we shifted, we broke structures. So now we can identify this as our shift. What we did also do is we came into this zone. Then from there, we did actually break higher. We broke higher here. Now we're just looking for the zone to get tested that caused this. So we can see this is that zone. Now we have a couple scenarios that could play out. I've obviously been waiting for this zone. We broke through it. That's completely fine. But what I am potentially looking for, either for my kind of last point, is going to be this guy in here. So what I need to do, if that's invalid now, we can just make that quite weak. Is this guy in here? For me, everything kind of already got tested in here. What we did also do is we did leave just this little zone, which I did think was going to get tested in and around here. We didn't get that. Again, that's fine. You can see we've had raid, raid, raid. That's that high. Price mitigating all of this candle in here. We have that confirmed break, looking for the zone that caused that. This was here. Then we continued lower. Breaker structure. What was that zone that caused that? Technically, it was kind of up here. But we didn't reach it, that's fine. And then we came up, we did some sort of test or sweep within what does this candle line up with, nothing really too much. And then from there, we invalidated this zone, and then we pretty much died. We did actually mitigate from here. We came down, we broke structures, and now we are potentially just looking for those shorts until we are invalidated. Now, this is why and where using proper risk management and things is important, because for me, we could equally push higher. We could respect the zone. We could actually push higher, and this could have actually just been a sweep of liquidity in the form of lows. That very much well could be the case. We could moon from here, pull back, and then continue long. And I would potentially like to see that against other pairs. If we invert it, you can see we're kind of just waiting for something like this across the other pairs. So let's keep going down further. So 12-hour, you can see we have actually come into this, or we haven't actually come into this zone. We invalidated this zone. But if we do actually get some sort of reactions from here, start shifting down lower, we'll look for some pullbacks, and definitely want to look to see if we can come down and target this low down here. We can actually refine this zone into that last wick. You can refine this zone into that last wick. So we're really kind of maybe looking to see if we're going to come into that zone or not. We did invalidate this demand. So we could, we did invalidate the supply, sorry. So we could actually come down back into this demand and then continue higher. But I really do want to wait and see what kind of moves we do get. Yeah, we are not in a bit of a sticky situation. We do have two zones. Obviously, if we are going to react from this, I do want to look for some sort of shorts across like other pairs. So at the moment, if we invert this, we're all kind of looking for this. We had that breaker structure. This is that zone that caused that. We could very much well just point and then continue, and that would almost kind of be the same as AUD/USD and like a couple other pairs across XXX/USD pairs. So we very much well could see that. I'm not going to anticipate on anything happening too much, just because I do want to see some sort of reactions from this zone. We did, if you guys noticed, sweep highs. So this is more of a zone for me, because this is a zone because we had that sell to buy and then it died off strongly, and yeah, okay, great. But this one actually raided and swept some sort of liquidity, which not only did we do that, then we actually kind of caused the beginning of this sell-off, which invalidates some of these like intermediate structures. So this very much well could be a zone where we could see some reactions from. I did look to refine it. There wasn't really anything too much that could have been refined. We could just check it out really quick. Go to 30-minute. Okay, so 30-minute, we have this little guy in here. I don't actually personally trade the dollar, so if we do get like a wick entry on one of these, then it makes no difference, because I don't trade it anyway. Nothing really too much. Okay, cool. So we can just map out this little guy. Cool. So I do want to see what sort of reactions we do get. What I am kind of thinking, I am thinking of shorts. Why am I thinking of shorts? Because this is just a theory. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So last Thursday, last Friday, we were bullish. Monday opened, didn't really do much. We kind of came up bearish. Tuesday, we just mooned for the day. Wednesday, now I do want to see. Hopefully we can go Wednesday, going into Thursday, break structure in the London, pull up in New York, going into tomorrow, Friday, NFP, and then have that short sell-off. That is just a theory that I do want to see. But usually when you have like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you go like Friday. That's not always the case, but you can see here, where are we? Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, cool. So this is a perfect example. Monday opened here. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Where did we go? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we pushed. So if we just inverted this, we could go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. With the help of NFP, then we push down. That very much well could be a possibility. And this is why I do like to just use that's why I do like to map out my days of the week, because when you actually can see price moving for like throughout the week, you do actually kind of see one direction for more at the beginning of the week, and at the end of the week you do come into more of another direction. And another thing which is nice to see about this is all at the beginning of the week we were just generating liquidity and then we swept it. All of the week we've just been generating liquidity, and now I want it to be swept. Whether we're going to break this zone, I don't know. I don't maybe want to see it. I do maybe want to see a little bit more of stronger pricing, or we could create a really, really strong buy to sell move, actually break this and invalidate it. This is going to be a zone for us to be looking to trade from against other pairs. So we'd be looking for something like this against other pairs. And then we just look for the actual continuations higher and see if we can run out whatever needs to be run. But that is just a small idea of what I've got for the dollar. Hopefully this made sense to you guys. If you guys have any questions about any of these players, just please give me a shout. But the story of the day is I do want to see, first of all, if we can do something out of this range, that's going to be just nice. Pilot this range just to see what is going to happen. Now, again, let me just equal these smaller. Cool. So that is dollar. Let's see what we get with AUD/USD. Let's delete all my analysis. Weekly. Cool. So weekly, we have come in to this zone in here. And now when we come out of this zone, we didn't really break as such, but we kind of took the high and then we started shifting. Once price then came out of here, I did think we were going to go for a run. We did actually mitigate just off this little guy. And then I thought we were going to, I thought we all thought this was going to be a run, and then we kind of just died all the way back down, and finally testing this guy on the weekly. Once we tested that on the weekly, actually, let's stay on the weekly. Once we tested that on the weekly, you can see prices then come up. We've caused a shift in momentum. So now we want to see if prices maybe going to target a little bit higher. 3-day, nothing too much. Daily, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. You can see we didn't actually mitigate this zone. This is still open, so that could maybe be a run. But we did actually come into this big bulk of orders. Where are we? We did come into this big bulk of orders, resting all within here. I remember what I said before about supply and demand zones now like created around the same region. This is like a nice pocket that price was actually trading for. And you can see from this reaction that we had on the weekly and the daily, we came down, we swept the low, and then we shifted, broke structures, and invalidated supply. So what does that mean? That means now we've invalidated supply, we've invalidated structure on the daily. The demand is now potentially in control, and we could see some further pricing. I know that so far we are all looking to see if we can get these highs run. I was actually looking for this. I think we were all kind of looking for this to get run just before. If we had sweat this high, that would have been a little bit more confirmation for me, and would have liked to have tried to get in. I did actually try getting some positions through the shorts, but that would have been just a little bit more nice to see. But now we haven't actually taken it out. That is going to be just now a target of liquidity for us to potentially take out. So let's drop it down to the 12 hours. So daily, we've got this zone down here, 12 hour. We do have this guy up here. What we can do, we can just map this out. We do have this zone up here as well, but we've got to get to this zone before getting to this zone. So I'm only just really going to map this out. I do anticipate price really just continuing through here anyway. But I do like to just have out my zones where price could actually react from. If I'm in a situation like this, what is probably going to be the case is if valid entries were given down here, I would look to come into here, take some partials, see about getting in another position. Once we see that invalidation, that's then when you can just like keep adding to your position. And for me, final targets are going to be just at the highs. So potentially could be a nice 300 pip move. I mean, it doesn't really matter about the pips, to be fair. It's all about the risk reward, but it's still quite a nice reward to be looking for. So daily, we've came into here, 12 hour. I'm refining this zone just a little bit more. You can see we do have just that indecision candle there. We have liquidity that was raided, which is beautiful to see. Let's drop it down. I don't actually use too many of all of these time frames at once. I do just like to use them just because sometimes you see things on some candles that you don't usually see on other things. What I am seeing though is I'm going to map out my daily open, and I'm going to map out this 4-hourly zone in here. So in the grand scheme of things, daily, if you did want to swing, you could do a number of things within here. You could have one swing position. You could have another one. And you could just leave it like that, plain and simple. Just be waiting for reactions from in and around these zones. And that's what we want to be seeing. Or you could wait. Personally, depending on how you like it, I don't really like to have like stop losses this big. But sometimes when the trade is right, I will and don't mind doing it, just because even though this is only a 4R, the potential R that I could catch for the same target in the same trade is probably going to be a lot greater. I.e., if we do actually start mitigating and we start generating a lower time frame accumulation, that's then when we can just look for lower time frame entries off something with more of a risk to reward. I.e., if we had that 4 running, you had a way smaller stop loss, even like 30 pips, that's now 1 to 12. So that 1 to 4 and then that 1 to 2, so do you know what I mean? So when you have zones like this, I do like to have more so now than before. I do like to trade like this just off a higher time frame, and then if anything looks interesting, because if you're already risking whatever percent you're risking, that's fine, because you can have your risk here, and if it takes you out, that's fine. You're only having that one risk anyway. But equally, if you can trade, or if you're already in a position here and you're confident enough with your lower time frame price action, and you can understand what is actually happening, you'll be able to get in potential multiple positions in and around here. I don't like, for me, if the trade is right, I will stack my trades. I won't really have loads running at the time being, but if it is valid, then I will have them. And I might even have some like intermediate targets for things if my risk rewards are a little bit bigger. I might only have potentially another entry in here, or maybe another entry here, wherever it could be, and maybe just target this first zone. Because even if we were to target that first zone, 100, so even if you had like a 10 pip stop loss, that's still over a 10R. So depending on what the market is actually going to show us, I like to actually get in on something, at least to not just to be in the trade, but so you know, kind of like, for me, like if I'm actually in a trade, I will watch the market just a little bit more, just to see how it develops, and like if there is a pair that I'm not in, I might not focus on it like as much. So if you're in something like a smaller position and you can actually acknowledge that you're in something, actually then going back in and looking for those lower time frames can actually give you better opportunities also. So that is AU. I'm just looking for basic moves in and around these zones. What we could get is obviously going into NFP. That's then when we could get these sharp moves back down into these zones, and then those little bit continuations higher. Again, if we just go into exactly what we're saying, does that line up with the 50%? Oh, look at that. Love to see it, honestly. What time frame is on? 12-hour. Cool. So nice 12-hour zone for us to be trading from, even if we broke structure now. What days it say? We could go Wednesday, Thursday, or we could either pull back today, Thursday, Friday, and then have that continuation. Well, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens. So far for the here and now, I'm not looking at anything too much other than to be selling. For me, I wasn't. I did want to see if I could get in some shorts. There was a really nice opportunity off of this zone in here. Personally, I didn't take this zone, but that did actually look to see quite a nice zone. Again, you can see you can drag this across. This was an area where supply and demand was quite strong, so seeing shorts from this zone was really nice and really valid. So whoever caught that, nice. I was looking for a zone off here, and my trade did order, but I literally just got wicked out by like nothing. And then I had another order up here. When we were after we come into this zone, I did want to see if we were gonna run it just one more time and just take out these highs, but we didn't. We dumped. That's fine. That is just still nice to see more liquidity still resting to actually potentially get taken out. So AU, if pullbacks are presented, then potentially could get in an opportunity. You can see this little 30-minute guy is looking quite nice. So I do want to see what we can get. Where's my EMA gone? If I delete it off by accident. There we go. Yeah, we could maybe see some reaction from here. Nice 50% of that zone. Really, like realistically, I don't really see that happening. I feel like that's quite a long way for price to go. But I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Well, we've confirmed. Well, let's actually break this down. We've had this whole area tested, which we've established, which is supply and demand. This is our broker structure pullback. Did we pull into the 50%? Yeah. So you can see pullback into the 50%. This is valid. Shorts, broker structure. Now we're just looking for potentially a pullback into the zone that caused that for then potential lower price. And so you can see we have this guy in around here. We can flip that. Cool. So what can you see? You can see that our fib levels are lining up pretty much exactly with this 30-minute zone. That 30-minute zone is 50% of this 12-hour zone. So, and you can see that our final targets are actually resting right at that 4-hour zone, which is just like so clean to see. So I'm not saying things like that. This always do happen, but sometimes they do, and they are nice to see. If we can get some pullbacks to then actually look for those shorts, I will actually be looking, I will be taking that into consideration. What we can do is we can take this zone, map that out. See, nice Asian supply created. And could even take some shorts from here. If I was to be looking to take shorts, I don't know if I would have my stop loss up here and my target here, because that is only a 1 to 2, and I'm not really looking to take a 1 to 2 if I'm going to be completely honest. Could drop it down in just above this Asian high, but realistically, if we're looking to trade off of this zone, price shouldn't really be looking to take it out and then continue. I mean, it could do, don't get me wrong, but I'm looking for a test, and if price was to do this, that's not a test, that's an invalidation. So you could be a bit more stricter on it, and you actually could really hone it in, and you could have your stop just above the high. But for me, if I was going to be completely honest, I would probably just have my stop loss just above this high in here, because if we actually follow this through, that mitigated this mitigated basically kind of that whole buying volume in here. Small mitigations in here. This didn't really do anything, but we just swept a kind of tiny little high in here, nothing really too crazy, and then we dumped penny going into the Asian session. So I'm not saying this is but that is in my eyes still valid. What we could do though is we could just plummet, and then that's completely fine. If price was to continue or our buys were valid, maybe would I try hedge a small position? Maybe, probably not, just because I do want to see high pricing. So if price just comes into this zone, I'm just going to dead this off. But if we do just see like a tiny raid and price kind of like coming back up going into like Thursday, and then Friday we have some sort of crazy move for NFP, that very much well could be valid as well. So again, let's just wait and see what happens with those. That's AUD USD. Euro pound. God, I've been waiting for Euro pound to do something for ages. Euro pound looking for higher pricing. Definitely could see some moves back up into here. We've had the break structure. This is that buy move that caused that. That's great. For me though, I'm only really going to be targeting just this high for the time being. Any point in the market where there has been reactions, I do like to just have a potential target for there. So we've had some liquidity build up in here. We've had these highs. Obviously, we've been waiting for this weekly zone. We did actually come into this weekly zone 1. I was looking for the weekly zone 2, just because that would have been for me the more fill of the imbalance. We didn't get that, but just because we didn't get that tiny little bit doesn't mean that it's not still valid. We have actually started shifting. The one thing that I'm really looking at is the daily time frame. We didn't break above, but saying that, going obviously down the lower time frames, 4 hour and stuff like that, we did actually break and hold above it. So we do have this low in here. Yes, we need to have these equal lows, and then we ran, then we continued higher. That's fine. This isn't for me a low in the market. We could definitely just see that run. We are kind of in a point now where we could see price shifting above. We could see that sell to buy and that continuation. This could now just be a type 2. We could raid, then do whatever we want to do. That again, that's completely fine. We do have this single wick low, which I am very cautious about. Basically kind of equal lows in here. But the thing that I've acknowledging more is we did actually break above this. So 2 hour, we did actually break above this. We are testing in and around here. So off this kind of 2 hour, we could see that buy to sell movement. Could maybe see price after it's gone high, then we come down, and that's fine. Just because we do have liquidity doesn't mean it's always going to be taken straight away. I mean, like you can see here, we didn't run all of these lows and then we just absolutely mooned it higher. So potentials are on the cards and on the table. I do want to only be targeting just this high or these highs at the time being, just to see what reactions we do get. But I do want to see some shorts and then some continuations on euro pound. We do have this mitigation of here, and then kind of this overall move. We didn't actually sweep it, and then we actually shifted. We broke out of this small supply, we broke out of this structure, and then we actually start continuing. So are we going to come down and continue? Are we going to come down, raid more, or are we actually just going to continue, drop off, and then compare? Let's wait and see. But that's what I'm waiting for euro pound. Well, let's do a top-down analysis. Daily, I've already said about. Weekly, nothing really too amazing other than just these zones that I was looking for. We are under the weekly EMA, so that could mean that we could see some short moves. But let's wait and see. CAD, not in this trade. Let's go weekly. So let's zoom out. Cool. What are we? We are pretty bearish, to be honest with you. We ran all of this liquidity. We run it. This move, you can just take the low here. Again, all of this liquidity, that trend line was run. And now we have come in to that last daily point, and we are looking for continuations higher. We have this high or these highs, which I do want to see get taken. And we did come in to this last daily move within here. So what is the game plan? So the game plan is we just wait for a little bit more to see what is actually going to happen. I thought we were going to come down and take out this low, but what we did do, and I was really gutted because I had an order in here, but my spread was just a little bit too wide on it and it didn't trigger me, which is a real shame. It's fine. We had that run of these lows, and then we came in and we swept, or we mitigated from this guy in here. When we did that, we created another kind of big buy to sell movement, which we can then see on the 4 hour time frame, which is here. Still kind of shifting above. I'm not classing that as a full break, but we are kind of shifting basically above. 3 hour, 2 hour, nothing crazy. Could refine this into this guy. Pull it across. So where are we? We have a small point in here where we can see that price has reacted from previously. So we can map that area out. Why are we going to map this little area? Because we can see this was a point in the market where supply and demand has kind of fought against each other. I do want to see if price can come up to here, but I do very much well want to see some longs. If we do take out that low, that's fine. I understand that that could be a possibility. But with the market, how it rolled, I do want to see if we could potentially get some further upside movement. We haven't had a massive crazy reaction from here, and that's fine. We could just very much well come up and just feel some of this and actually then start coming down a little bit lower. That very much well could be the case as well. But for the time being, if price does have a bit more of a run, I do want to see if we can then have a sweep of this liquidity test into here and then maybe continue higher a little bit more. If we don't, price could just continue, and then this could just be a potential point in the future for us to be trading from. Ideally, we could just plummet through it. If we did just plummet through it, I would definitely want to be looking for the reactions from that low, because that's kind of like the last point within ages, basically, from where I can see that low from where price could potentially react from. So we do have a lot that we could see. I mean, like even if we go on the weekly, you can see that price mitigated something just that tiny bit, and then we absolutely ran. So that doesn't mean that price couldn't have done just to that little bit, and then we absolutely run. Those very much well could be possibilities as well. Going on the weekly, let's just map out points of higher time frame supply. Again, you can see we can drag this across. Major area for supply and demand. You can see everything is just being created through here. So that's a very strong area. What area is that? That's going to be like 73 flat, basically 73 flat, yeah. And it lines up with the open of that candle as well, which is nice to see. So are we now weekly time frame gonna dump, have a buy to sell, and then actually start pushing higher? Or are we actually just going to start pushing higher from here? But I do want to just wait for a little bit more confirmation on these pairs, because we do have liquidity resting in here. We do have liquidity resting in here. So I do want to see if it's going to be one of these, if we're going to do this, or whatever we're going to do. So as long as we're just adapting and following what price is doing, and we're actually just kind of looking at everything correctly, then that's fine. As long as your risk management is fine, then you literally have nothing to worry about. So that's CAD. Pound Swiss, again, I'm not in this. I was just looking at it. I was looking for reaction. Well, let's go to the weekly. Let's delete everything off. So Pound Swiss, we pretty much took a massive dive. Took out this low, and then we ran a second low. Once we ran that second low, price then didn't really give us too much, to be honest with you. I actually remember when price was in and around here, and I was looking for reactions from here, but we can just see, I'm pretty sure from the economy, I'm pretty sure this was Liz Truss, and she dicked us all. We are now basically stuck in this kind of range for me. But this is the weekly range, and we very much well could see some nice reactions. What we can just slightly see, though, is if we take this wick, we mitigated that. If we take 50% of this wick, we mitigated that. And then we swept that low, and then we came in and mitigated that. Yeah. So we mitigated these zones. We did slightly have a little shift out of here, but nothing really too crazy. But we have been mitigating, and we have actually been following through. So that's just on the weekly. 3-day, nothing really that glamorous. here you can see there's that mitigation. So now you can see, again, nothing really too nice, but on the weekly, I am going to just map out this weekly zone just because I do like to see if we can get some reactions. And the last kind of point of supply, we actually look at this breaker structure. Oops. Everything in here so far has been mitigating. We mitigated off this buy to sell. That mitigated. So when I'm looking on the high time frames, after looking at the structure, I'm just doing exactly what I'm doing just on lower time frames, following trails, following mitigations, following where price is potentially looking to lead to go. It's always good trying to follow the mitigations, I find as well, just because it gives you a bit more of a clearer insight of what's happening. So you can see supply has been in control, we have been selling, but for this small current price is actually following demand. You can see, we could definitely see this is that first major point of supply. Why am I looking at that zone? Because we broke structures. I'm looking for the high and the low. I'm using my 50% to kind of see anywhere in around here to see if we could get some sort of entry. Obviously not going to be looking to trade straight off that weekly zone because that's like, what, 350 pips. I mean, you could do if you wanted to. I'm personally not going to. So we had this guy in here. Oh, we do have this guy, not to saying that we're going to come up, test, and then continuate. Not, no way, because this could be going into next year. But again, I just do like to have zones mapped out just to give me a bit more of a clearer insight and to see what is happening. So we have this small weekly zone at 1.13234, no, 1.3428. Scale it down a bit more. What do we have? Okay, so nothing really that clean, if I'm going to be honest. But what we did do is this is the zone which I was looking for price to come into before, but we didn't, but we dumped. So we have this zone in here, which I actually refined back down into a 30-minute, and we do have this guy up here, which is kind of like our overall major test. But we do have a lot of liquidity resting in here. So I do want to see if price is actually going to take some of that out. So far, I was maybe looking to see if price was going to come back deeper into here a little bit more, maybe just to fill some of it out. 2 hour, 1 hour, nothing really juicy has happened so far. But what we are doing, which is kind of annoying, is we are running the lows and we are running the highs. So we could very much well just see some sort of move like this, or we could see some price come a bit further deeper and then actually continue. I'm not going to guess anything just because what's the point? I'm going to wait for a clear sign and a clear indication. All of this is Asian liquidity, so from my understanding, I do want to see that get taken. But let's wait and see. Nothing really too glamorous on pound Swiss, if I'm going to be honest. Yeah, it's just looking a little bit shabby. Silver is what I'm looking at. Silver and gold kind of maybe yes and not so much. We'll run this CAD and silver, gold and silver, basically the same setup, if I'm going to be honest. Silver daily time frame. Let's go into a weekly. Weekly, what do we have? So we kind of tried to dig deep into here, but we do still have a zone up here which could get tested. We have this wick which got filled at the 50%. Following that, we had these equal highs that were raided. Did we take out that high? No, we didn't. We mitigated in all of this zone. We can take the 50% of this to get that tested. No, we didn't get that tested, but we don't always have to get a test. We did actually still come up into it. Daily, I was actually really looking for. Oh, okay, cool. So that daily zone did actually get completed. What am I doing? We had that daily zone that was tested, but what we also had is so let's go back. Let's go back. So from the beginning of the time, you can see nothing really happened too much on the. Let's go on the 1 month. 1 month, 12 months. No, I'm looking for a sell to buy, which kind of we do have. So as you can see, nothing really dramatic has happened. We have a massive pump. This is on the 2 month. We came all the way down and tested that last imbalance right down here. Since we had that, we literally just continued. But I do want to see if price is actually going to maybe come up and take some of these highs out. I mean, we do have some potential wiggle room to push higher. Weekly, you can see from there, we come down, we tested it. Just missed that daily zone, that daily imbalance, but we did come in and fill 50% of this imbalance, which you can see lines up with that daily. And then from there, we have this guy in here. So I'm really looking for continuations long, but I'm looking for shorts first. We have a break within here. This is our break structure. We have that pullback. We failed to create a lower low, but we have actually came up now mitigating within this zone. So we could now we've had the reactions, we could now potentially see some short moves back into here to then go long. We could have some sort of reactions to come in here and then go long. We could die. I personally don't see it dying. I do want to see this zone invalidated way before I look for anything down here. But it's always good to have an understanding of what could and maybe could have an effect on things. Now we have this weekly zone down here, which I'm looking for. Yes, we did shift this structure in here. And I was actually looking for a test of this. If you guys have watched my videos before, we had that breaker structure, looking for that test when we came in here and look for that continuation down. We didn't. I was also, if you guys remember, looking for this zone up here as well, which is completely fine. There was a little 12-hour in here, which I was looking to see if it got tested, but it's nothing crazy. We did actually fill a high time frame objective. We did just run that high, and then we did actually test within here as well. So this was our run. We could now see some short moves back down. What's happened to my mouse? Hang on, give me 1 second. Yes, my mouse has died. That's a shame. Okay, I'm just gonna have to do the last bit with my hand. So we've came up into this zone. Hang on, let me just put my thing on charge. Apologies, guys. That's really frustrating. Okay. Oh, what's happened?